Well, it is a new month. And we follow the themes for our international centers, the Centers for Spiritual Living. And of course, the 2019 theme is Spirituality in Action. The August theme is Respect Other Nations and Peoples. And the value for the month is gratitude. That could be a value for the rest of our lives, don't you think? Opens our hearts, makes everything possible. And today's talk is about self-respect and inner appreciation. Because I think it must begin. In fact, I'm sure it must begin within ourselves to understand who we truly are before we can adequately honor, appreciate, and respect other people in our lives and in the world. Ernest Holmes, in the philosophy of Ernest Holmes, his Ernest Holmes papers, wrote, "There is only one sonship, generic man, Atman, Buddha, or the Christ. God never had but one son, but the eternal is forever begetting his only begotten, and he is begetting him in me now," taking those words from Meister Eckhart. He brought it into our own individual awareness, and we're looking at the real meaning of I am, because this runs through every thread in every major faith tradition. The I am that I am, the Holy of Holies that dwells within us all, no matter what the name it may be that we call it. Karen Drucker's retreat that you've begun to hear about was so wonderful this weekend. 19 of us went down. And Reverend Trish Hall, whose center is there, Metro CSL, is always amazed that often we have more attendees from our center than she has from her own. And some of our folks stayed down there because Karen was still singing this morning, and that's sort of a tradition that many do stay. And many returned, thank you very much. They will be back. It was the most amazing experience to be filled with infinite love, human love, infinite possibilities, opening our hearts to each other. And as many of you know, Reverend Mike's son left the planet on the 24th of July. It was the best place he could have been. He so got loved up. How wonderful it was to be present with people opening their hearts so we could all open our hearts to one another. Yet, ironically, at the same time we were having this beautiful open-hearted retreat, shooters were on the rampage in El Paso and in Dayton, Saturday and Sunday. Like, where's this disconnect? How can there be so much love in one place and so much hate in others? It boggles the mind. It's not possible to wrap our minds around it, and yet there is something we need to do to solve it. And it comes right back to spirituality in action. You know, the previous weekend was when Reverend Mike and I wanted to go to El Paso to stand with the 400 clergy, interfaith clergy at the borderland, saying, stop treating people like animals and let's see who we are. Remember who we are. We weren't able to go down there, but we were all in prayer. And it's unimaginable, the things that are taking place in our world, and yet the truth is, it's not the first time. Reverend Mike and I were talking this morning at breakfast, and I said, remember, there's been the other in people's minds ever since humanity began. There's been distrust. There's been, I've got to get mine before you get mine. There's fear of other people, and the differences, instead of being cherished, appreciated, and honored, create unbelievable hatred and conflict. in ancient Greek days, when the Persians, who were the enemies of the Greeks, were in conflict with the Greeks, do you know what the Greeks called them? Barbaroi, from which we get our word barbarian. Someone who's not like us is a barbarian. Excuse me, no. This mindset has to shift to the loving experiences that we have here and that we had this weekend in Boulder. This is where it has to start. And until somebody feels loved, accepted, cherished, and understands who they really are, these things are going to continue out there. This is why I'm beginning today's talk for the theme of August as self-respect and inner appreciation. How are we going to feel free enough to love the other until we feel confident and filled within ourselves? Those exercises that we were doing this weekend, I'm looking around at some who were there. These exercises that we were doing, they reached deeply into our spiritual essence, our genuine essence. In John O'Donohue's wonderful book, Anam Cara, he says, the soul needs love as urgently as the body needs air. In the warmth of love, the soul can be itself. I want you to imagine for a moment that the soul of every sentient being on this planet has become free to be itself. There's no more reaching out and grabbing and fear and hostility. There's a sense of, the true sense of self. Loving the soul, letting that soul be its magnificent self. When we are able to do that, then we can behold the divinity within one another. There's no more suspicion or fear. There's a letting go before you're dragged. That was good, Lynn. The I am that I am is a powerful reminder of the sacredness of our souls. Have you ever thought about the sacredness of your soul? You came into this world whole, complete, and perfect. And as I was sharing with the kids earlier, unique. We are God's flower garden. We share the same essence, and we have the ability to express ourselves so beautifully, so individually, so uniquely. And it may not be everybody's cup of tea, that's okay. Karen Drucker also said something like, it's a good thing to be willing to be so authentic within yourself that you could disappoint someone once a day. Okay. Because sometimes have you ever heard the term people pleaser? Sometimes we think we have to do what other people expect us to do in that certain way instead of allowing ourselves the peace and the freedom of being our authentic self, the genuine essence of our being, loving the soul and letting the soul express itself magnificently. We're more than our bodies. We know that. And we love our bodies and care for our bodies. We're more than our emotions, and we honor them and balance them. We're more than the intellect, and we wish that intellect to be a holy place through which divine ideas may express. And we are more than all of those things. There's a Greek word for this inner shrine, or the Holy of Holies. It is adytum. The adytum is that place we seek to find within ourselves. And until we do find it, we're going to be looking out here for things. We're going to be seeking stuff for entertainment. We're going to be seeking stimulation. We're going to be seeking something that's somehow going to make us feel whole. instead of coming back to that place of the I am that I am where the wholeness exists. When we finally get our humanity to that place that we are discovering that beauty and that truth and that wholeness within ourselves, we're not going to be dealing with the drug overdoses anymore. We're not going to be dealing with those addictions that create such horrible circumstances for families and for individuals and for societies. The wholeness within. I want to read to you something that's part of my spiritual practices every day. And I don't really need to read it because I say it silently within my meditation each day. But here it is. It's from the Kabbalah, and it's called the pattern on the trestle board. All the power that there ever was or will be is here now. I am a center of expression for the primal will to good, which eternally creates and sustains the universe. Through me, the unfailing wisdom takes form in thought and word. Filled with understanding of its perfect law, I am guided moment by moment along the path of liberation. From the exhaustless riches of its limitless substance, I draw all things needful, both spiritual and material. I recognize the manifestation of the undeviating justice in all the circumstances of my life. In all things, great and small, I see the beauty of the divine, that divine expression. And living from that will, supported by its unfailing wisdom and understanding, mine is the victorious life. I look forward with confidence to the perfect realization of the eternal splendor of the limitless light. In thought, word, and deed, I rest my life from day to day upon the sure foundation of eternal being. The kingdom of spirit is embodied in my flesh. Will you say that last line with me? The kingdom of spirit is embodied in my flesh. When we realize that there is no separation between the spiritual and the material, that there is nothing to reach out there for, but to come quietly, silently, willingly, confidently, shyly, however we come within to that holy presence, then we're going to realize that the divine is taking place in the material. As above, so below, the Hermetic philosophy. As within, so without. It all begins within, and it all begins by recognizing that the Holy of Holies, the Aditum, dwells within us. We deepen our love, we deepen our respect, we deepen our appreciation for that divine self that we are. Karen Drucker pointed out something that I took quite personally and happily so. She said, any of you have dogs and cats, any pets at home? Oh, yeah. And did you leave long instructions for your pet sitter to make sure that your animals were well cared for? Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. And we always make sure that there is somebody loving who sleeps with Yoga. It's not just a matter of walking her and feeding her. You have to be there and to snuggle her. These are important things. They are. So what Karen asked was, that list that you make for your pet sitter of care, real care, what about making one of those for yourself? Oh, do you like that idea? I love that idea. Reverend Mike and I are doing that now. Okay, she likes that too. Making a list of self-care items. Think about what that might be. Caring for your physical body, caring for your emotions, caring for your mind, caring for your soul. What would that look like? I'd be delighted to share her assignment with you. Consider it. It would be a wonderful thing for us to provide a self-care list. I mean, our puppies are important and our kitties too, but how about us? How about that? We're developing this love, respect, and appreciation for the divine inner self and for the entire instrument through which this divine inner self shines. We are deepening a very healthy reverence and admiration for that presence that we are manifesting. So it begins within our own hearts, which is why I love the idea of a list of instructions for self-care. You've heard this, you've sung this. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me, yes? Isn't that where it begins? It's not let there be peace on earth and let it begin with Kathy. You ready to start it, Kathy? Let's each of us be willing to begin it. Well, let there be peace on earth, let there be respect on earth, and let it begin with me. Let me respect my authentic self so completely that I'm not looking for anything to delight me out there. I'm not looking for anything to or anyone to affirm me. I am only going within to that beautiful aditum, the holy shrine within, for my confirmation. So until we build that inner shrine, we will not be able to work with each other to co-create the world in justice and in joy. You know, it's been said that justice is what love looks like in the world. I want more of that. I want more justice in the world because that is love showing up. Reverend Mike still wanted to he has a birthday here. I have a birthday 9 days later. And despite the pain and sorrow through which he was moving, he said, we are still celebrating your birthday. And we went to New York last week, and we saw To Kill a Mockingbird. And Jeff Daniels was a wonderful Atticus. And the woman who played Scout was amazing. And we got shirts, and they have mockingbirds on them. And they're about first justice. And one of the phrases that Scout used throughout the play, she took from the court proceedings, which was when the judge comes in, all rise. And what she got from that and what we know from that is that we all must rise in consciousness in order to bring love into the world. And justice is what love looks like in the world. All rise. We must rise. We can't, we could get exhausted. We could just totally become paralytic. We could give up because there's so much out there going on that we can't do everything all over the place at all times. And it just is exhausting. And we can't let ourselves move into those places. All rise. Come to the place that we learn the lessons we need to learn from seeing the things that are not correct. First, correcting them within ourselves by remembering to respect and appreciate that divinity within. In the following weeks coming up, we're going to be taking this into accepting, appreciating, feeling grateful for, and delighted in, and honoring the divinity within all people, all nations, all creeds, all ways of being in the world. And culminating in a sense of gratitude for our unity, gratitude for our diversity. Some of you are aware of this wonderful poet laureate, Maya Angelou. A brave and startling truth. We, this people on a small and lonely planet, traveling through casual space, past aloof stars, across the way of indifferent suns, to a destination where all signs tell us it is possible and imperative that we learn a brave and startling truth. And when we come to it, to the day of peacemaking, when we release our fingers from fists of hostility and allow the pure air to cool our palms, when we come to it, when the curtain falls on the minstrel show of hate, and faces sooted with scorn are scrubbed clean, when battlefields and Colosseum no longer rake our unique and particular sons and daughters up with the bruised and bloody grass to lie in identical plots in foreign soil, when the rapacious storming of the churches, the screaming racket in the temples have ceased, when the pennants are waved gaily, when the banners of the world tremble stoutly in the good, clean breeze, when we come to it, when we let the rifles fall from our shoulders and children dress their dolls in flags of truce, when landmines of death have been removed and the aged can walk into evenings of peace, when religious ritual is not performed by the incense of burning flesh and childhood dreams are not kicked awake by nightmares of abuse, when we come to it, then we will confess that not the pyramids with their stones set in mysterious perfection, nor the gardens of Babylon hanging in eternal beauty in our collective memory, not the Grand Canyon kindled with delicious color by western sunsets, not the Danube flowing its blue soul into Europe, not the sacred peak of Mount Fuji stretching to the rising sun, neither Father Amazon nor Mother Mississippi, who without favor nurture all creatures in the depths and on the shores. These are not the only wonders in the world. When we come to it, we, this people, on this minuscule and kithless globe, who reach daily for the bomb, the blade, and the dagger, who petition in the dark for tokens of peace. We, this people, on this mote of matter, in whose mouths abide cankerous words which challenge our very existence, yet out of those same mouths come songs of such exquisite sweetness that the halt falters in its labor and the body is quieted into awe. We, this people, on this small and drifting planet, whose hands can strike with such abandon that in a twinkling life is sapped from the living, yet those same hands can touch with such healing, irresistible tenderness that the haughty neck is happy to bow and the proud back is glad to bend. Out of such chaos, out of such contradiction, we learn that we are neither devils nor divines. When we come to it, we, these people, on this wayward floating body created on this earth, of this earth, have the power to fashion for this earth a climate where every man and every woman can live freely without sanctimonious piety, without crippling fear. When we come to it, we must confess that we are the possible, we are the miraculous, the true wonder of this world. That is when, and only when, we come to it. Will you say with me, I honestly love and value myself. I willingly give expression to the divinity within. I invite the divinity to show up in my life. And so, you marvelous beings, begin with our lesson.